Welcome to Tips for the Transition, where we have deep, meaningful conversations about life. We talk about how significant changes like divorce, grief, and career change can affect us, our family, our relationships, and our work, and how to move beyond them. I'm your host, Maria Tomás-Keegan, certified career and life coach for women, and I'm here to support you through the messy seasons of life so you can answer big questions like who am I now and how do I move on from here? If you're ready to consider new options, be inspired, and meet incredible women who are on this life journey with us, you're in the right place. You'll find something in each episode to give you hope and encourage you to move from panic to powerful, from rocky to resilient, and from upside down to right side up. This is Tips for the Transition. Hello, and thank you for joining us. And welcome to Tips for the Transition, the Career Roadmap podcast. And in case you're new to this show, we have just started our 5th season, and we have been the #1 most watched podcast on Voice America TV for about 16 months. And we are now expanding our reach into this live streaming arena, coming to you on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube simultaneously. And we also are on all of the audio podcast channels. I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, your host. I'm a career and life transition coach. And my mission is to create resources for women to navigate career and life challenges and to know that they're not alone. Each week, these conversations are with inspiring women, and they are intended to help women around the world become more confident, resilient, and brave in their careers and indeed in their lives. So if something strikes a chord with you as I'm talking with my guest, and you want information, please check below the video in the comments section or the show description, and you'll find all kinds of ways to get in touch with us so that you can ask more questions or just continue the conversation. So today we are going to continue to explore different approaches to finding work that lights you up. As the world continues to evolve very quickly, business evolves too, and that offers all of us challenges and opportunities to explore. So I'm sharing this platform with different experts to bring you new ways, and hopefully some of these might resonate with you and help you. So let me tell you a bit about my next guest. Avani Patel helps people who are ready to break free from the conventional wisdom that keeps them stuck in the 9-to-5 grind so they can align with work that feeds their soul. After 14 years working in the technology field, she fully stepped into her life purpose and her mission to serve others. Through her skills and unique combination of experience in psychology, metaphysics, and the corporate world, Avani is able to provide you with a dynamic approach to your journey. She empowers her clients with tools to create deep self-awareness and powerful intuitive wisdom, so you can start creating your life the way you want it. And today we're going to talk about what it means to move beyond the fear that could be holding you back from getting what you really want. So let's get started. Let me bring Avani on the screen with us.
Hi, Maria.
Hello, Avani. I'm going to get this right here in a second. There we go. Hello, Avani. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very well, too. I really appreciate you being here and just getting your
Thank you for
mind on
inviting me
screen.
to be a guest on your beautiful show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for joining us. So let's get started. Let's hear a little bit of background about how you were brought up and how that upbringing affected your fears.
Right. So I grew up in a pretty traditional Indian from India background where, we were immigrants to this country. Our parents, were basically first generation, or we're first generation, but they came, in their 20s ready to create a life for themselves and, basically gave up everything so that they could start a better life for their children. So growing up, we knew that we had to have that determination. We knew that we had to make better lives because our parents' struggle, wouldn't have been worth it if we didn't do better for ourselves. So a lot of children, tend to be in the health career, in tech, in law, or even engineering as Indians, because those tend to be careers that are either high status or financially they make better lives for themselves. So in my growing up, I kind of always felt that pressure to be one of those four career choices. But deep down inside, I knew that wasn't really what I wanted. I wanted to help people in a different way. And so I kind of at that time decided that I needed to break free from the conventional, Indian upbringing, and major in psychology when I got to college, because I really wanted to help people's mental health, and not so much, some of the other careers that looked better for Indians.
Thank you for sharing that kind of cultural situation that we don't all experience as Americans. So it's really interesting to hear what kind of pressure you felt in that traditional Indian upbringing to be one of four things, and then feeling like that wasn't really you or what you wanted. So let me ask you about what your biggest fear was when you knew that you weren't suited for one of those four. What came up for you?
My biggest fear was disappointment. Disappointing, whether it would be disappointing my parents, disappointing, our society, our community, other people who thought that I had, more potential, and I was making a sacrifice because I wanted to help others versus something that was a little bit more lucrative. And that was a real fear. I remember announcing to people that I wanted to major in psychology, and it was kind of looked at almost as a joke. And even certainly we've come far, but even today, there's still a little bit of those remnants of it, psychology being a quote unquote an easier major in college. So there is that stigma still, but we now understand that mental health is so important to us. Whereas before, in the 90s, it wasn't taken as seriously as it is now.
That was brave. That was brave of you to stand up for yourself and handle all of what must have been a lot of, well, you mentioned it as disappointment, but I'm sure there were other emotions that came up for you. One of them that comes to my mind is maybe regret that you didn't, that you chose something different. I don't know. Was that something that came up for you at all?
It didn't come up for me as much because
Okay.
I kind of decided that this was the right route for me. And I did get full support from my parents. But
Oh,
I know my
yes.
mom lovingly did sometimes mention, you did want to go to medical school and become a psychiatrist, but you decided to, give it up. So she would kind of remind me, of the regret that I maybe should have had. And in her,
Right.
and it really wasn't in a spiteful way, but it was really more just, are you sure that you are doing your dream? And I would just continuously remind her that, yep, I
Yeah.
stand
Good.
firmly in my decision. Because I think that at the end of the day, she didn't want to see me struggle. And and it came from that sense of struggle.
Okay, so disappointment, fear of disappointing your family, your culture. How did you get over those fears?
The biggest way that I found to get over your fears is to really understand your purpose and understand your gifts. If you know that you are truly here for a reason and you know what that reason is, and you know that your gifts that you're naturally good at, if those two are in alignment with each other, then you know that no matter what anyone says, you can get over your fears because you understand innately that this is what you're meant to be doing.
Okay, let's talk about that word, alignment. What does that mean?
So alignment really means, what are you, when are you in that most state of flow, right? When are you most naturally, kind of being your true essence, your true self? When are you doing the things that really light you up from the inside? And you really think of alignment as, when you were younger, before the world told you what you should be doing, right? What did you naturally enjoy doing? What were you good at? What could you spend hours doing and not realize that the time has just flown because you've just enjoyed it so much, right? That's that when we were all in alignment when we were younger, when we were children, because there were just things that we did and we had no idea that the time just went by. And that's what alignment feels like even as an adult. It's when you enjoy doing these things, you enjoy bringing your gifts into this world and sharing it with other people.
It's like doing the work and it doesn't feel like work at all, right?
I love that. That's so true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what came to me when you described that. And I think a lot of people, a lot of my clients, a lot of the women I talk to are looking for that. They're not quite sure how to find it. That's one of the things I do with my clients as well, is help them find what really lights them up. And it's so important. So tell me, how did you discover your own gifts?
So I've had a very long experience in this. So like I had just mentioned, I did study psychology. And then when I got into the workforce, I did social work for a few years because that's, kind of, it tends to be one of the first jobs you can get with a psychology major. So, and my whole plan was to go back and get my master's eventually. Well, in those 3 years, I got married and we decided that we wanted to have children. So, I did kind of, had to make a sacrifice and look at my values. Yes, this was my calling, but it was an incredibly stressful job, what I was doing. And I knew that if I wanted to have children and raise a family, I myself was not able to have that separation at that time of work and family life. And so I needed to make a decision on what to do next. So I left social work, and wanting to help people so that I could go into the corporate world and, you know, have a steadier income or higher income so that I could raise a family. And that's what I did for about 17 years was just work in the corporate world, just up until last February, where I decided that I again wanted to go back into my purpose. Now we're at a better financial situation where I could, and my children are raised. They're teenagers now, so I didn't need to kind of trade in that my own pursuits for the financial benefit of the family anymore.
Okay, so in the process of doing all of that, what was the discovery part of it? What was in your pursuit to discover your gifts?
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? How did that work for you?
So I think in that, since I was younger, I've always wanted to help people. People always came to me for advice. And I feel like I was coaching people even before I was coaching. From a very early age, I did tend to be the person that would just kind of be I felt like I was very heart-centered and just always wanted to, see the best for other people and have better outcomes for others. So I knew that was always inside of me, but I didn't know how to step forward. And that in and of itself takes confidence and courage. When you realize that you have these years of experience under your belt, but we don't always recognize that experience. We don't realize that that's what other people look for. And you come to a point in your life where the knocks keep getting louder. And I started getting these knocks, like different things would happen either in my career, or, even in my personal life, where I was starting to lean more towards helping others again versus, being in that corporate culture anymore. And it just didn't resonate with me. It started to resonate with me less and less in the last 5 years. And that's when I knew that I needed to take those, look deeper within and find out what are my skills that I can use to help others. What do people want, that I can serve them. And that, that takes that assessment. You really assess your situation, your skill set, and then you can move forward knowing that without a doubt, you have something to offer other people.
That's lovely. I think that's a beautiful way to describe it, that you really need to just kind of sit quietly with yourself and understand what it is you have to offer. And I love that you said, this used to happen to me too, that people would just kind of naturally come to you and ask for your advice and counsel. Because they're going through a tough time and they just see you as someone who can help them. And that used to happen to me as a little girl as well. So I understand that. I really relate to that. So Avani, let's talk a little bit about how you now teach others to align with their purpose.
Right. So as I have two ways that I teach others. So one, is that I'm a coach, right? I help. I have a 6-month program where I help people, and we basically start from scratch, right? We have to start with the foundation. We do learn the concepts, and we build on it. And during those 6 months, I help my clients really find their purpose, right? Without finding their purpose and without having that direction, we're just walking around aimlessly. And I know what that felt like. I felt it. I felt like I was stuck in this mundane cycle of wake up, go to work, eat, sleep, repeat. It was this constant cycle. And so, I want to help my clients get out of that. So, we start with that foundation and we continue to build on it. And that's a 6-month program that is a group coaching program. And then it has some self-paced modules as well. And by the end of the 6 months, I have helped my clients find their purpose and really align to their gifts and strengthen their gifts. We do a lot of play, which is what is the fun part of it during our coaching calls. We play around with, what your gifts are. And, I help them strengthen what they already have, what they've already been born with. And how do we create something within them to blend their purpose and their gifts so that they are in alignment with it. So that's the first way I help. And the second way I help is really through hypnotherapy. As a certified hypnotherapist, I help look at, what are these fears that are coming up for you? And is it coming from this lifetime? A lot of times when we look at these fears, it comes from, an earlier age when, either a certain trauma, a certain incident, maybe somebody said something to you, somebody made you feel a certain way. Usually it's before the age of 7 or 8, where something was really became deeply rooted into your subconscious, and then it perpetuated, throughout your years, and you kind of continue to build on those limiting beliefs. So I help look at that, in not only in this lifetime, but for those that believe in past lives, I can also look at those beliefs and how it was carried on from potentially another lifetime, and you've brought those fears in, and then we break those cycles and we take a look at what is deeply embedded in that subconscious that we need to pull out. And when we pull it out, we kind of release all those fears from your subconscious so that you can move forward and not allow those to limit you.
That's fascinating. It's fascinating work. It's and with the hypnosis and the psychology background, there's a depth there that you can go to with people that not every coach is equipped to do. So I love that you have, those two ways depending on who needs what, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this episode is about moving beyond the fear. So let's talk about the kind of fear that might come up for people who are, and you described it so well. I know this 30 years in corporate myself, so I know that syndrome we get into, that going through the motions kind of syndrome that we can get into. But there's a lot of fear when we start thinking about what if, what if I were to do something else? What if, everything is changing around me? How do I respond to that change and all the fear that can come up as a result of that? And so how does someone step beyond the fear?
Yeah, there are a lot of fears that happen. I think especially for women, and I know I've been guilty of this too in my own career, is that imposter syndrome, right? Who am I to deserve more? Who am I to, to be an expert on a certain topic, right? We doubt ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves fully and enough to move past that, right? But really, when you look at that fear, you are enough, right? Know that you are enough. If we are all born with our own unique gifts, our own unique skills, you have something that no one else has. And when you truly stand by that and you truly believe that, you know that what you have is something that is a gift to the world, that is a gift to others. So this imposter syndrome stops women from moving past the fear. And I'm saying, say yes to other opportunities. If you're not happy where you are, what's the worst that can happen when you say yes? Are you so afraid of being happy that you're allowing yourself to remain in a place where you're unhappy? What if you did say yes and it all worked out?
Yeah, great questions. Great questions. So, it's a matter of finding ways to firmly believe in yourself that you are, as you said, that you are enough for whatever it is you're aspiring to do. I think it's also feeling free to dream, right? So dream big, dream about what it is you want to do and step into that. That can bring up a lot of fear, but I read a book about, it's probably 25 years ago now, called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's a great book. And so anyone who is struggling with the fear, get a copy of that book and go through it, because there are some fabulous practical tips to actually face fear and do it anyway. So thank you. I appreciate your perspective on that. So
And right now is a great time to actually evaluate what's going on. There's a term which I'm not sure if you've heard of recently, but it's called the Great Resignation. And right, and that's happening where people have been home during the pandemic and they've had that. They're assessing their values. Companies are asking coworkers to come back, employees to come back, and they've had some time to sit with their families or assess their lifestyle, assess what's working for them, and what wasn't working from them before. We've gone through so much as a collective, as humanity during these past 18 months, I would say. And and people are really taking a step back and looking at what's important to them. And, just September alone, there was the greatest number of people that that resigned. It was 4.4 million Americans that left. And then coming next month in January, that's a time where just in general, people tend to resign. And then on top of the other layer of this great resignation, I think people are getting to that tipping point where they're ready. They're ready to face their fears and be open to the opportunities or even to the unknown. That fear of unknown is what stops a lot of people. And now, after, the pandemic, people aren't afraid anymore. And more people are looking to do what really fulfills them. Now is the time more than any other time where you can resign and you're not alone.
Yeah. And as a career coach, you're so right about that. It is the perfect time, because the other thing that's happening is there's a shift going on in the workplace, in corporate, and what's happening is I align it to like the real estate market, where you have a buyer's market or a seller's market. In this case, you have an employer's market, which it has been for a very long time. And now things are shifting and it's becoming more of an employee's market. So those people who are struggling in their current situation have an opportunity to negotiate for themselves. If they want to stay in the corporate world, finding the right situation that allows them more flexibility, that allows them, better benefits, that allows them all kinds of things that employers who are now looking for the best talent, are able to negotiate with the best talent and get it, because they are now willing to give more credence to what employees want in order to work there. So I'm seeing that shift as well as a career coach.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for what you want or
No,
what
don't
you
be afraid
need.
to ask.
Right. And not
Absolutely.
just for, a future job, but even now, if
Yeah.
you need something, if you need a little bit more flexibility because something has changed, ask for that. The worst I can say is no, right?
Right.
But you
Right.
never know. A lot of employers right now are willing to negotiate, just to keep really good
To
talent.
keep the great talent. That's right. That's so right. All right, so we have one last thing to do here, Avani, and our loyal viewers tell us it's the best part of the show. So for those who are new to the show, we end each episode with a segment where my guests share their practical tips, and that's why I call the show Tips for the Transition. So Avani, I know you brought some tips with you. What's your first one?
My first one is start now by looking at where you are not in alignment. So what no longer is working for me? What does work for me, but what doesn't work for me? What doesn't from the inside feel right anymore? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like I'm in the that right moment. You can tell, again, especially with what we've just gone through, that shifts have happened in a lot of people's mindset. So what does that shift look like? What has changed for me?
Great place to start. All right, so what's number two?
Number two is do a values assessment. So
Hmm.
seeing what has changed in terms of your values. We've seen a lot. This, again, the last 18 months have shown us a lot. And I think all of us have opened our eyes to what's really, really important for us. So maybe when you first started your career, like for me, right, I had to stop doing social work because my value went from helping people to really starting a new family, and I needed to make money. So when I started corporate, making money for my family was a value for me. But throughout the years, that's now shifted, and now my value is serving others. So what do you value? Do you value the money? Do you value the title? Is there certain career goals that you're going after? Or has anything changed and now you're looking for happiness, you're looking for work-life balance, you're looking for being able to work from home more, flexibility. So look at
Mm.
those values and what's changed since you started, or after, like, in the last 5 years.
I'm so glad you said that values shift as things change for us. A lot of people feel like their values, what they were raised with, are what they have to stick with, you know, forever and ever, amen. And that's just not the case. That's not the way it works. So thanks for sharing that one. I share that with my clients as well. And it's something that a lot of people get stuck on about values. They do shift. They should shift. As
Yes.
you evolve, so should your values. Love that.
And
All right, what's number three?
well, and just to piggyback on that values that you were
Yeah.
just mentioning, also look at, are these values my own? Or is it something
Oh,
that
okay.
society has given me, or my family has given me, or other people have put on me? Am I really living for my own expectations or living up to other people's expectations? That's
Right.
also going to tell you a lot about values. Am I buying, these things because they make me happy and they truly are, here to enhance my lifestyle? Or am I doing it just because other people have it, or I feel the need to keep up, right? So when you really look at your values, another way is are they truly mine?
I love that. I remember so well a time in my life when I compromised my own values to keep the peace in a marriage. And so, yeah, that's such a great point. We do often live up to other people's expectations and compromise our own values. All right, last one. What you got?
My last one is look at your skills and interests, and how would you market them to where you want to go next. So that's kind of where I was, a couple of years ago. Is I knew that I was, preparing to leave, that I no longer was in alignment with the corporate world. But kind of what I mentioned, how can I take what I'm good at, what I'm interested in, and what I what I know to be true for me, and how can I use that to serve others, or to either build a business, or to move to another role within another corporate job, or, you know, wherever you want to go next. How can I use that, the foundation that I have now and what I can bring, take all those tools that you've created, that you've built, and, you know, and how can I use that in my next role?
Great point about the transference of skills. So you said something earlier about moving into a new role and thinking you're starting from scratch. You're not. You have so much experience and skills that you've acquired and honed and own. So own them. I love that.
Yeah, and I think as women, we take for granted everything we know. I don't think we always recognize our strengths. And sometimes, you know, you can, you can do that 360, evaluation and ask other people too. You know, what do you look at me for? You know, what do you think I'm good at? Some of the people that you trust and you know are closest to you. Because sometimes I don't always think that we tend to look at what we're good at, and I think we overlook some of our biggest strengths. And it's not until someone else brings it to our attention that that we really recognize that this is a strength of ours.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think that's so true. All right, we could talk about this for a long time because we both love this subject. But we have to wrap our show up for today. So, Avani, I know that there are going to be people who want to get in touch with you, and I'll share again at the end of the show about where all the links are. But tell us the one best place. I think we have your website that we're going to drop to the bottom of the screen here, but tell us what your website is.
My website is eternalalchemists.com. And that's kind of like my landing page. It's where it's going to be a little bit under construction, but you can definitely email me, find my contact information there. And then if you want to find me somewhere where I'm the most active on Instagram. So, and again, my handle is @EternalAlchemists. So you can easily find me there, and I'm posting pretty much every day, sometimes 2 to 3 times a day.
2 to 3 days.
So yeah, and I'm always open to you emailing me or direct messaging me. I would love to, if you have any questions, I would love to help you in any way that I can.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Avani. I really, really appreciate you sharing your perspective. And I'm sure that it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
And thank you for having me. And thanks to your listeners for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. I appreciate that you're a part of this community. As I said at the top of the show, I love creating and sharing resources for women. And as a career and a life coach, I work with women to help them navigate challenging times with more ease and grace. So if something in this episode resonated with you and you'd like to get a fresh perspective, reach out and let's have a conversation. In the show notes below or the comments below, you're going to find all kinds of links to get in touch with Avani and me. Our email addresses, our websites are there. You can find special downloads and trainings and books and blogs and more. And if you would like to continue this conversation, join my private Facebook group called the Career Transition Roadmap. And I look for the link below to get to that. And let's meet again here next Wednesday. I believe it's our time to thrive. So will you join me on that ride? Until next time, I'm Maria Tomás-Keegan, turning transition into triumph.